Spatchcock Nation Hot Joints, we are back with one of the hottest dudes that I know from one of the hottest joints I like to kick at. This is our boy, Jimmy Delia from Pizza Man and Pizza Man Pub in Baldwinsville. Jimmy, how you doing, bud?
Very good, Matt. Great seeing you, as always.
You
go
too,
back
dude.
a ways, so.
I prefer seeing you over a beer, but I'll take a Zoom screen. So for the people out here, what we want to talk about today with Jimmy is one of my favorite human beings that I've ever known. And I've been on a lot of adventures with him, from Bills games to things that probably shouldn't be described. We've had a lot of drink, had a lot of eats, had a lot of great times. But Jimmy actually is more than just a publican and a restaurant owner with his brother, and his family is a family of restaurant owners. And since his dad started this business back in the day, which was a pizza shop that then turned into this bar and this restaurant experience, they have been a pillar of the community, not just sponsoring Little League teams, but taking care of the community when it needed, especially during COVID. And Jimmy and his brother Luke have elevated this brand in a couple ways. The quality and the human character are still there that his dad created, but now it has this really strong digital presence. It uses social media to connect with people. On top of that, they've also made what was one of the strongest relationships in a community and a restaurant improve, which is amazing to see that. So that's why we wanted to bring Jimmy into the mix. So Jimmy, man, like we're excited to talk to you, baby.
Oh, I'm very excited, and a great intro right there.
Well,
You've always been a great promoter. That's why I like hanging around you.
We want to tell it like it is, man. I mean, not that this show is about this, but let me put this out there too. If y'all are looking for someone to that has a strong will to be weird, which we'll talk about later, to go to a concert with, to go to a funeral with, to go to anything with, Jimmy Delia should be your number one choice. Besides my wife, he would be the first random person. If they're like, hey, we're going to drop you off in Tanzania for an elephant race, Jimmy's the first guy I'm bringing to that event, you know?
Oh, we would rock Tanzania.
We might have to plan a trip for that.
We might have to bring back an old drink of ours, RBA.
You know what? I think the RBA is going to make an appearance today, because I got some thoughts on that too. So before we get into the first question, what Jimmy's referring to, I mentioned a lot of my experience with Jimmy. Besides, Jimmy taught me how to make a food that we want to use on a future episode, which is using Thin Mint, crushed Thin Mints into a pancake. Girl Scout cookies, awesome. Jimmy also is the first person that I ever drank absinthe with, and this is real absinthe, and the experience was as real as it gets. So when we're keeping it real, Jimmy, tell us about the pub, about how it came to be, about what it is now. Walk us through, baby.
All right. So the pub started in, it was December of 2007. I grew up in this business. You mentioned earlier is, mostly an old school pizza shop, pizza joint. And my father started that in 1983. So I kind of grew up in this building, in this business. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just, he grew up in the restaurant business. His father owned a bar called the Country Inn, which had a good following. There's a lot of stories that go back to that. My dad he actually learned how to make pizza from a Syracuse legend. I think it's one of the oldest commercial pizza shops. It's called Tino's, and it was on South Salina Street. I think like 425 something South Salina Street back in the day. So, and he taught him how to make pizza, and it's very similar to what we still make today. We haven't really changed much. It's kind of like that in between, that Syracuse style pan pizza. I saw you guys did a good pan pizza, Spatchcock Funk, a few weeks ago, but we haven't changed much since my dad learned it when he was a little kid, and he begged his dad to put it out at the bar. And people started saying, hey, like this was like early, late 50s, early 60s. My dad was like probably barely a teenager making these pizzas. And he's like, Dad, I think people like these. You got to find something to put them in when they leave the bar, because they were just put on trays back then. So pizzas, I grew up with it. It's in my blood. Love it. Grew up as a kid. It was so much fun. It was more for almost 25 years up until the pub started. It was just a pizza shop, pickup, delivery. And ironically enough, that's really come in handy this past year with the COVID, but we'll get to that later, because that's kind of what we had to go back to.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things about the pizza the pizza that you guys make, right? And it's funny you mentioned the original restaurant there. Is that the place where now, like, was that where Kowalski's when you and I watched the national championship game in 2003?
Oh yeah.
That place, that place is
involved in a Kowalski's, and I think it's currently a Timber Tavern.
Yeah. We had a good time that night. So
yes.
The pizza that you make, right? It's funny. I was talking to someone the other day, and she recently moved back here from Atlanta. And one of the things she was talking about was she couldn't wait to get Pizza Man pizza. And the thing about the pizza that you make, and I mean, obviously, I've eaten hundreds and hundreds of Pizza Man pizzas, but hundreds of pizzas in general. Is it's an interesting crust in the sense that it's a combination of a pan pizza versus your old school traditional style pizza that you see in regular pizza shops, which makes it unique, but it also travels well, right? So there's nothing in the delivery game ever, like nothing breaks my heart more for me when I order something, I'm pumped about it, and it's either been in styrofoam or the quality doesn't hold up. So the way that you guys do it is great, man. The way it just rolls into the house, you're ready to party, and I love that. We
try. Luke and I, we put a lot of effort into just getting it all right, and it's served us well during this pandemic because we can tell a pizza business is up. It's been a big part of the pandemic. Pizza all over the country, it's the best.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna get one bad thing out of or one good thing out of this awful situation, more pizza. I mean, how can you ever go wrong with more pizza?
You can't.
Yeah. So here's the question I got for you now, right? So your ability to interact with all sorts of people is well documented. And the pub is a great place. It's like, I like to bring people there especially for football games, sporting events. So if you had to have one celebrity roll in for like a Sunday fun day that was going to set it off, who do you want to roll into the shop and why?
All right. Yeah, I mean, right now, just because of the way what he's doing and what it is, probably Portnoy from Barstool. And I think like Spatchcock Nation kind of has part of that formula. I think Pizza Man kind of has part of that formula. Anyone can serve food, anyone can, but we got like a cool, just a culture, and Spatchcock does too. It's just like makes people feel good. And Barstool's a little edgy, but he makes people, and at the end of the day, he's got a big heart because he did this whole restaurant thing, and he's into sports and stocks, and he's in my wheelhouse. I've always been a fan, so he would be cool. But at the end of the day, I mean, I would like to talk with him, but honestly, for me, it'd be like getting my direct family rolling. Like it would start out with probably like Amy and the girls, and then like my dad, Luke, his family, my brothers, your boy Matt Delia out in Las Vegas, and then Tony and his whole crew. Maybe that would be during the daytime because it would go on a long time, and it would have to be post-COVID or maybe pre-COVID. We can't have these restrictions because this is going to be we're going to roll this day. It's going to be a long, fun day. And then we get the softball team, our boys, all involved down here. Yes. Who is currently our fantasy football league that's like 17 years in existence. So our crew rolls in. Stephanie, like any of the wives of the crew roll in because we're having fun. There's no restrictions anymore. And then, even like my Bills backers, these guys, I started a little subgroup of Pizza Man. I had fun with them in the last couple of months. They made a lot of things better for us, just warming up the pub every Bills game was something to look forward to each week. So I'd get them in the mix. And then, just the characters that are around Beeville, the ones you're familiar with. We got definitely some legends here. Our boy Kamish, who works with us, is here in the building right now. He, just our customers, they're awesome. So it would just be a crazy day. Maybe Portnoy rolls in, maybe like Josh Allen too, and Aaron Rodgers. I heard he likes to have a few, scotch or bourbon. So it would just be a crazy day. You know how we do it.
I do know how you do, and you do have a lot of great scotch and bourbon. That crew all day long, like that what you described, and Pizza Man Pub, you mentioned like the culture of it. That's what that place is to me. And like last week we were talking to David Hoyne, and I spent a lot of time there. That's like the Pizza Man Pub to me in the city of Syracuse, where I live now, right? But the culture, the atmosphere, the food's good, and the drinks are good, the bartender's good, but it's the energy of it, man. And like that crew, I've partied with all of those crews in your restaurant, and the Bills backer group, especially like this year, the beginning of the season, Bills Jets.
You were there, yeah, week one.
Right? Even during COVID, though, that was a great time, all things considered, the separation of tables because of the atmosphere, and people were cool and Drinks were
And they
flowing.
understood it.
They were there on ice.
They were there watching out for us. You know, they wanted, you know, and you guys, everyone that came in, it was so great. You know, they knew we had these new rules we had to play by. And that's what we did, and keep everyone safe and still having fun and supporting. And, you know, sitting down watching sports isn't quite the same, but that's what we got to do to get through this. It was great. But David Hoyne, I just watched that. That was awesome. What a great job you guys did. That was like masterclass on running a restaurant. Soon I want to get out to Kitty Hoyne's with you, because it's been a while, and I've always had a lot of respect for that man. Between you and my brother-in-law Timmy Fadden, who deals with or has dealt with him. So what a cool guy, and so much stuff resonated what he said, and you know, it almost gives me chills thinking about live music. It's been almost a year, and we have a similar thing here, you know, on the weekends, and it's just about that unity and that community and what happens here.
Your guys' live music and that sense of community, it's amazing, because one of the things that I think about, one of the last times I was at the pub, I was there a couple times last month, but one of the things I think about is that like, to me, there's like a changing of the guard in some bars or restaurants between like the daytime crowd and the nighttime crowd. But in the pub, it all blends together, right? Like, I remember going in there, getting a beer, it was with Ryan, and all of a sudden in the corner, there's a family there having some pizza together. And then there's a couple on like, you can tell they're on like a date, like they're dangerously close to one another, you know, like, all right, man, let's make some magic happen. And then there's people that we know that are just drinking, getting ready to really set the night off. And you have that community set in that place where you can do that. And that to me is awesome. That's when you know you're at home. Sure.
Yeah, that's what's been great about the last 13 years. And there's been just some great magical moments in here, whether it be, you know, the high school sports teams, or just watching SU games or something, you know, watching games. Definitely the live music, but there's just, and some big holiday nights too. I mean, it really, this was this past year, just missing that, because the kids bring a lot of energy. You get the young college kids, and they're fired up, you know, to come to town. And when we started this 13 years ago, we had some fun when we were that age doing that, but there was kind of a void when we opened up the pub, like kind of a sweet spot where we were like, man, we got to, you know, get that back. And now it's evolved where there's a lot going on in Beeville. So it's good.
There is a lot going on in Beeville, and you know, you mentioned that void. So the thing to me about what Pizza Man Pub puts into the place, and there's other great restaurants. Angry Garlic is cool. There's other places in there. So
awesome.
It's a good community. But there was a void, and like when we were that age coming up, when I just moved back from New York and you were getting out of school, we like Brendan's was our go-to place, and that place was fun because it had a cool culture and atmosphere. And like, I mean, we don't need to get into details on its last night being open, because that was pretty crazy.
We had some good times there. That was for sure.
Yeah, and when that place closed, Lake Effect was cool and other things, but it missed like the community, like a home base, right? Like, to me, the pub, like when I'm in Baldwinsville and I'm bar hopping, which I do from time to time, particularly pre and post COVID, the pub is like, to me, like Kitty Hoyne's is to me, is a headquarters bar. Like, you might text someone like, all right, dude, meet you in the pub shortly. Or like, all right. Or you don't even text them. You'd be like, all right, I'm pretty sure my boy Johnny Newman is in the pub right now. So let's go over there. We'll pick him up. And then, you know what I mean? So that to me, you know, it brings it together.
Right before, up until COVID, you know, I just don't, like everyone else, you know, you kind of, your circle got a little closer. You don't venture out quite as much, but right up into this, like I've talked to Jeff, go have a drink with Jeff across the street at Angry Garlic. And then we would, you know, just try to hit up some places, and it's a good scene out here. And but you're right, and I'm very honored that you say that, because I mean it is something we shoot for, you know, or something we're happy about, that we're just like a central hub or a meeting place, and we cross different age groups, and all kinds of people are welcome. It's great.
I've seen people play cards in there, like Magic the Gathering at a table, and like other people like watching a football game. And you're like, all right, man, that's when people feel like they can be themselves in a place. That's a place you want to be at, you know?
Awesome. Yeah. And to be compared to Kitty Hoyne's is an honor too, because I love that place.
Well, here's a place you don't want to be at, and I don't think you will end up, but I'm not saying we've committed crimes together, but let's say that we have. But the statute of limitations is out on those.
Okay.
So you are on death row, bro. What is your last meal on death row?
Good question. So I'm on death row. I don't know if I can even technically do this, but honestly, every year I have to say, out of all the restaurants and great places I've been fortunate to be here all the time, I think one of my favorite things all year I look forward to is my wife, Amy. She makes me the best dinner on Christmas Eve, where she breaks out old china. And I mean, just like yourself, myself, like when we were back 20 years ago, we weren't quite as evolved in our culinary skills. And it's amazing how far all of us have really come. So, and Amy it's amazing. It's like, we always get out a little early on Christmas Eve because that whole holiday run is just wild here. And I just can't wait to see what she has cooked up. It's usually like a filet mignon, like either like a lobster tail or crab cakes or something. Just, she goes all out. And I don't know if she knows how much to appreciate it, but that's what I would look for if they would have to like replicate it or something, because they probably wouldn't let your wife cook for you. I don't know the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they would either, but she might be pretty mad at you. Might be in the doghouse if you're in death row. She might not be like, I'll make dinner.
So I might have to switch this up altogether, maybe.
She is a fantastic cook though, and it's funny. You're right about the evolution of things. Like when you're cooking something, or like, I mean, you run this really great restaurant and you have a great family and great friends, and like if you were talking to the 20-year-old version of Jimmy Delia, he might be like, what? I'm not doing that. And he might not want to do that, but now you like that if he could see what the happiness is to the community and like how happy you are and how awesome your kids are and stuff, that younger Jimmy might be like, yo, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a great point right there. I mean, it goes for a lot of things, man. Like you just don't lie when you're in high school and college. Like you had touched on in the interview with David Hoyne, where I saw where like when people are bag on Syracuse, when you're younger, you're kind of like, oh, I want to go out. Then you get older and you realize what great stuff's around here and what great community there is. And I mean, you just evolve, I guess.
Yeah, and we got to keep evolving, because one of the things. So speaking of evolving, right? Like we talked about this great business your dad had set up, and like I know, so he set that up with originally he did some work with Al Romano, a good family friend of yours, who you and I were once partying with, and I wore his national championship ring around the bar all night, and people were like, "What's going on?" And I found a way to include it in every conversation. Like, I don't know, how are you? Can I buy you a drink? So since they started that business though, the evolution, like that beautiful, awesome bar in there, right? Which is just gorgeous looking. On top of that though, you've invested, you and Luke went in and bought all the sick TVs. I think it's the biggest TV in Baldwinsville, or you'll invest in like different things. So one of the things that people love about going there is there's always something new, and you put your money where your mouth is. With new products, things that you're trying out. So what's the most frivolous or craziest thing, besides when you and I watched your dad bid against himself and buy a $1,300 signed Carmelo Anthony thing? What's the most frivolous thing that you've ever bought as a business owner?
All right. Well, yeah, that was a good reference there, because you know him, and he's a character, and there's been a lot of, and some of our buying we've gotten from him, but it might actually be the TV you mentioned, only because of, and we got a good setup here. I love the sports and like watching the games. And if we knew COVID was going to happen, and this room would be shut down for 4 months, and then 50% the rest of the year, because we bought it in the fall of 19. And then our TV guy's like, man, I got an 80-inch TV. Our projector was kind of fading a little bit. And he's like, I got an 80-inch TV. I could hang it for you. I'm like, wow, that would be cool. And we know it. Luke and I talked. We're like, let's just do it. Let's do it. So we probably don't need a TV that big, but we got one. our customers appreciate it. And like when he went to hang it, he's like, I've done one pretty close in Tully's or somewhere in Syracuse. Like, I don't really know the codes around here, so I'm just gonna chain it up to the rafters in the ceiling. I'm like, oh, that's probably a good call, because I don't think anyone's nutty enough in Beeville yet to have a 80-inch TV. So.
It's definitely the biggest one in the area. And the thing is, I remember after you were telling me about that, that you guys were getting it, and I'm like, oh, that's super cool. And you don't think about how big 80 inches is, and it's also super high def. So it's one of those type of screen experiences. Like I remember being in there, and before I got there, it was like a 1:00 football game before I saw it for the first time. And I had like 2 beers before that. So I wasn't in a position where like I was going to like not understand life. And I remember just being like, when it's too high def, where it seems like it's like you can almost touch it, and you're like, yeah. it was like freaking me out. So like I couldn't look directly at it. I thought I was gonna have a seizure. It was so like intense.
Is that when you like try to jump up and like ankle tackle Brady and?
Oh yeah, to throw bottles at it. Like what I'm gonna like. If you're listening to the show next time we're at Pizza Man Pub, that awesome huge TV is also indestructible. So throw stuff at it. It's not a big deal. So you know
that might be an edit. That might be in the edit room.
That might be. Let's cut that out in the reel.
Yeah.
You talked about your dad, dude, who is also an awesome human to be around in any situation. Super funny. And I remember at one point talking to him about. It was actually before the bar had opened. I had had a beer with him, and we were in the restaurant. He was talking about why a piece of pizza is important. Like he was talking about like when he takes stuff out and he doesn't just leave it in the warming rack, which I know that you do that too. To you, what makes a great pizza and wings? Like what sets it apart from something else?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned previously, yeah, pizza's big with me. And I know, actually, I stole a saying from you, and you almost referenced it earlier. That's like a lot of pizzas died in these hands. And that used to be a great line you used to drop. And I copied that a lot because it's true with me because pizza is amazing in my eyes. And there's so many different takes on it. So many that are good. I mean, we do a certain style here. There's great pizza in this area. Like a pizza regional, it's got awesome different interpretation takes. Toss and Fire is really good. Like there's different, Pepinos and places in the city, shops in the cities, shops out here. There's just such good pizza everywhere. But what makes it, like all these places and stuff, they just put a lot into it. You see like one of the chains I won't mention, but their big slogan's better ingredients, better pizza. They talk is cheap. They said it. I don't know if they deliver. They do it, but we do. I know we do. We shred cheese. We make our sauce dough every day. It's just a constant cycle that we just put into this fresh, great pizza and just try to come up with, and then we watch it. We watch concepts and trends. We've, my dad, since we were little, we've always tried to get out to Las Vegas. That's probably why Matt lives out there, to pizza shows. People tell it, they laugh and they're like, no, it's serious. There's 100, hundreds of exhibitors out there selling everything to do with the pizza line. So we pick up good trends, and some of the pizzas we have right now are popular ones. There's garlic, broccoli, tomato. We call it the Garbrock Tom. That's kind of.
I love the Garbrock Tom, dude.
There's a newer one, Sweet Heat, that's been killing it. It's cup and char, like the buffalo pepperoni, which we nickname here Bill-aroni from our guy Buffalo Bill. They kind of was bagging us to get it years ago. Who's a great dude. And so it's got that. It's got meatballs, sliced meatballs, and then we finish it with some fresh basil and some Mike's Hot Honey, which we picked up out there when he was starting out from Brooklyn. So, and it's a great pizza. So yeah, we just try to borrow ideas, take ideas, watch. Pizza's just, there's so many different trends and different styles, that it's just a great whole niche thing.
The Sweet Heat pizza, I had it actually last time your brother Matt was here. He came out and had drinks here, socially distanced, but he brought the Garbrock Tom because he knows I love it, and the Sweet Heat, which is the first time I had it. And the basil and the type of pepperoni that curls on the pizza is so awesome. And it was cool because it's just like described. Obviously, it's sweet and heat, but the basil puts that little bit of added spark into it. It's a super dope pizza. I mean, and the other thing about that too, because I was actually gonna try to steal a slice and leave it in my house so I could have the next day. The quality ingredients you use, and you mentioned the national chain. To me, you can also tell the quality of a pizza by how well it travels. And I've had Pizza Man pizza from Baldwinsville into the city of Syracuse and eat it right out of the box, which is a good sign. Also, that it's reheatable the next day, right? So if someone's used canned mushrooms or something else that's not going to deliver that, it doesn't. Or the crust, if the crust wasn't handmade like yours is, it doesn't go that well. So your pizza delivers on that. They're all ingredients, and our boys claim to fame, Dobbs, that he invented the Southwest Ranch pizza, which is it's a pretty dope pizza.
Yes, oh yeah, he should get a mention. That's pretty good. It's legit.
Yeah, it's legit. He also once caught a carp on a cigarette butt, which is also a legend around Baldwinsville, which is pretty cool. But
You
those
don't
type
put
of
that on
things
a pizza.
with the pizza though, you guys also try different different flavors with the wings, and
Oh
you experiment
yeah.
and try stuff, and that to me is awesome too, because to me that they're like people are like, oh man, you can get a chicken wing anywhere. That's not true. Like there are great chicken wings, then there are just chicken wings, and you guys deliver great ones, but it's because you also experiment with different sauces and rubs, and that's a big deal, you know.
Yeah, definitely. We went a little outside of our normal comfort zone and went in a couple years ago. We got hooked up. My aunt Noreen had a connection with Rob O'Connor that his father started the Syracuse Nationals, and really nice guy, lives in Beeville here. And then he was teaming up with the guys from Limp Lizard, and they did a Syracuse Inner Harbor Wing Fest. And we went out to it, and it was all places mostly in Syracuse. And we had a blast. We sold so many wings, and we brought our new sauce. It was kind of like a collaboration between Luke, my brother Luke, myself, and then my cousins like Joey Delia and Frankie Delia and Nikki, all three of them. And it was just kind of like something we did, just like a secret menu type employee situation for years. And then right about that time, we're like, you know what, let's just bring that. And we did, and it tied Shifty's, which I know we've been at there before, and you've been at a great place, awesome wings. And then Pepino's had a really good wing, and they ended up taking the whole thing. But we tied for second out of like 12 places. We were so happy. And after that, it got picked up by all the local media, you know, all the news stations and stuff. And that's been a huge seller ever since. So yeah, definitely. We're always looking for something with the wing sauces, and we move a lot. We just move wings.
That's the thing about the wings. One of the reasons why I love the wings there and the different sauces you have is the reason why you guys won that award. And there are great chicken wing places. You mentioned Shifty's, Pepino's, Nibsy's, Salt and Peppers are pretty legit.
Oh yeah.
You know, so but what you do that I love that some restaurant owners or anybody that's in the creative space and people like you have to be very creative to be successful at that job. And for me, when I think about creative stuff, there's two ways that some people will react. They'll, like a musician might see somebody else's music and be like, oh, that sucks, and hate on it, right? Or people like, oh, our wings are way better. You don't do that. Like I've been with you places and been like, oh man, like this is good. I wonder what if we can spin off of that. And that to me, I think is why, because you guys have the staples that work, and then you're always evolving and changing new things, and you listen to your customers too. And I think that's kind of what really adds to the power, you know?
Yeah, definitely. You're right. I know. We're always listening and kind of just seeing what's out there, and trying to maybe like take an idea and spin it or do something that'll work for us. It is. I mean, I think it's a huge tool.
So let's talk about some other restaurants around town, not the ones that are huge tools, but the ones that you like. And let's say, so you can't use any of the Pizza Man menu items, but you and Amy have the chance, the two of you guys, to just go out. You're gonna have an appetizer from anywhere you want, a main course from anywhere you want, and a dessert from anywhere you want in the local area. So what's that look like for you?
Oh, all right. Good question. I would, I love keeping it local and supporting all the shop, the restaurants, dining shops around here. We're actually doing a Baldwinsville Dining Weeks, second or third annual this coming up, which is great.
So make sure y'all go to it.
Yeah. That's going to be, the last week of February, the first 2 weeks of March. And I think we're up to 20 places, which is amazing. Because I think year one, there might've been like 8. Anthony from Eat Local is helping us promote. It's going to be great. So, I just love to spread it around here. So yeah, I'd probably start off appetizer. I'd have Amy come out with me, and we'd probably go across the street. Right, just walk right across the street to see Jeff at Angry Garlic, because they got artichoke stems, which for me, I mean, that's more like probably an Amy. You would see that and be more in Amy's wheelhouse. I'm kind of more of a loaded potato skins or bacon type, you know.
I do.
But those I've had them multiple times, and it's a very, very good appetizer. He does sautés them in garlic. They're very good with garlic over there.
Yeah, they are.
And then
I've had it. It's a great appetizer.
Butter garlic, and then he serves over like crostini bread, and so it's a really good appetizer. And we'd probably get, and I would make Jeff himself come over, because we serve him a lot over here, and he could whip up some drinks, because he's a very good bartender. and very good at just the service part of the bar, and just good dude. And then like his wife Tiffany's very nice, and we both have kids in elementary school here in Beeville. We're just friends with them, so that would be a great starting point.
Love it, love it.
Let's see, main for the entree. I'd probably just out of like such a comfort level and just respect, I'd go to Tassone's and get the Italian platter, because I just really, really enjoy talking to Mary Tassone and her brother John, and they do an awesome job. And we're just like myself, kind of born into the restaurant business. And but that's just such comfort food for me. It's like chicken parm, lasagna. I mean, that'd be wheelhouse for me. Nice red wine.
Yeah, I mean, so that's an awesome answer, because great Italian food is different than just Italian food, right? Like the Olive Garden, like, give me a break, bro. You just pulled this out and microwave it. But like,
I think the Olive Garden might have ripped Tassone's for the tour of Italy, because
I think they might have, dude. I think that
I've been ordering since I was a kid the Italian platter at Tassone's, and it's way better than anything. Tour of Italy's like their chainy version of that, but the Italian platter is legit.
It is legit, and that dish they have too. It's like the blackened scallops with like blue cheese, and black and blue linguine, whatever that is. That's fire, dude. That's
what Amy would get, and we would share, because she gets that a lot, and that's really good.
That's a good one.
Yeah. The black and blue scallops. Yeah, definitely. So those would be the entrees.
Okay.
As much as I like to keep it local, I'll probably have to give a shout out to my boys who I grew up with, the Francescas, who do a pretty good job with their operations. It's pretty amazing what they've done. And I grew up with them, and Matt was really tight with them, and I got to know them at a young age, and it's just amazing, that whole story. But the butter cake is probably one of the best desserts. I would put that up in like a national contest. The way I love that. So
me too. That dessert is so that first of all, their whole vibe, that restaurant setup is awesome. It's like
outstanding.
It's impossible to get a table there, like, because it's so good, and you want to sit outside. And also, like, I last time I was there and I had that dessert, they had a special. I always get their specials because they're always dope. It was like squidding with like lobster. It was like, and this thing came out, it was like this big after I had a huge appetizer, and I want to eat the whole thing, and then I'm like, I can't have dessert, and then I was like, dude, the butter cake, I have to eat that. Like, I feel like I'm cheating on myself if I don't eat that. You know what I mean? It's so good.
Right after COVID, we, in like probably most of Syracuse and Central New York, we're like, we got to go to Francesca's. So I went with Amy and I and Jen and Timmy. Us four went to there, and I was actually thinking of you. I was like, what would Matt Reed get? Because they dropped a special, and it was a game platter, like you were saying, and it was on like a wooden like chessboard, the huge piece of wood, and it was just, oh my God, it was like buffalo meat, and it was all this exotic meats, and it was amazing.
Dude,
so I definitely always get Italian there, but I was like, I got to do it. We got to go. Will to be weird. What would Matt Reed do?
I would totally do that, dude. And like, by the way, that's a great crew. Your wife and your brother and sister-in-law, because those people are awesome to hang out with and to party with and eat with. So the will to be weird, for those of you that are listening, this is a term that actually my boy Jimmy coined, and this is a central part of how I make life decisions, genuinely, in terms of experiences or creative ideas for work or choices for vacation. But Jimmy taught me about this thing, and it's the will to be weird, right? It's a type of situation where you're like, you know what? Let's get weird. Let's get into a situation and make the most fun of it, right? So Jimmy is one of those people, like, you could drop him off I'm not hating on Des Moines, Iowa. I've never been there, but you could pick a random spot and be like, okay, we're going with Jimmy Delia there, and I guarantee you a good time out of that. So the will to be weird,
I do have to say, I ripped it from Oliver Stone's Doris movie with Morrison, and Val Kilmer did an amazing job playing Morrison, and he was all banged up, and he's like, come on guys, where's your will to be weird?
Okay, well, you know what, if you're going to take it from anybody, Jim Morrison's a good one to take it from.
And our boy Clement was kind of weird back then too, and he was into that movie.
He's also a good will to be weird guy,
good guy.
Totally, absolutely. So to that end, right, the will to be weird, you and I have experienced outside, but let's talk about what is the craziest will to be weird story or best pub moment that fits into that checks all the Jimmy D boxes.
There's so many that it's like, that's just too tough for me to even process right now. But there's been so many. I mean, you've been here for some of them. I mean, there's just been some nice, just people just blow your mind with what they come, especially the later it gets here at the pub and some of the circumstances you get involved with, just talking to people, or just they'll tell you way too much and overshare their life situations. Or, I mean, there's been crazy, just crazy nights in general. I mean, we've done some pretty wild things here with just as far in the name of having fun. I remember one time there was like a bunch of people, we had just gotten like instant lottery tickets, and our bartender Misty is a big fan, and like between me, Luke, her, and a few other people, next thing you know, we were like throwing them like it was a roll of toilet paper across the bar because we just bought the whole roll. And everyone's like, what the heck? What kind of place is this? Like, and we're just, just having fun. And, there's just things like that, we're lucky to have great employees, great bartenders, fun people that, we treat very well, and they treat us very well, and, get this room rocking. So I just think it's hard to zero in on, as far as like weirdness, just so many laughs at just people and different times. Probably like as far as the best moments, I don't know. I can think of one when my cousin Frankie, who was in here, helped us out throughout it. He started busting tables when he was like 12 years old with his mom. My aunt Noreen, she's been a big help here. She serves here, and so we really got a big family vibe. But my cousin Franco, I've always looked after, and he won his senior year. Beeville, and I love senior Beeville lacrosse. Repping it, Coach Wilcox is gonna hopefully get to see this and love this, because with everything that happened this past year, I'm really pulling for all the Beeville teams, all those kids, and just want them to have their seasons. But it brings me back to memory when Frankie's senior year, they finally got the monkey off their back, and Coach Wilcox, they won the section title. So I think they beat West Genesee, and then went on to beat Fayetteville Manly. It's two powerhouses that have always just shut Beeville out of the state championships. So that night it was just amazing. It was like it was amazing, and I believe the Beeville girls had won previously in the night, and they had won the section too, and they had got here first, so they had a huge achievement of their own. And then it was like WWF, like old school, like entrance. The players were literally coming in through the doors. Obviously this is way before COVID, because I don't even know if we could ever get back to this type of celebration that took place that night. But things were literally falling off the walls because the room was just vibrating. But it's just nights like that. Nights that I mentioned earlier, the holidays with just all the kids coming home, and we've had some very special moments here for sure. Or just, like live, with some things with the live music, when you get the whole pub singing along together, our buddy Just Joe, or some of the other talented musician, Kim Fetters, she'll sing Whitney Houston, and go for an older, some of the older demographic that still stick around, but everyone just goes nuts, and that's just a good night.
The great thing about the pub is you get that, like, I've said this before, and I don't mean this from like a violence inducing situation, but to me, if you're in a group of people, and I think we will get there after COVID, there's always like when the crowd energy is so high where it's not like a riot, but you could see how it could get there, like that energy.
Sure.
And like Kim Fetters, I've seen her do that there. You mentioned Frankie. I remember being on a dance floor, my man's jamming and dancing to Baby, Baby, Baby by Bieber, and he straight killed it. And I might've been dancing to it too. So he's a super fun
Bieber phase.
Yeah. Bieber, Bieber's a pretty talented.
Next time you see him in Lemoyne, bring it up.
Well, you mentioned Beeville lacrosse, guys and girls. You played lacrosse at Beeville, you played at Lemoyne, so I know it's got a special place in your heart. That the celebration thing, the pub to me is a great place to celebrate. I remember not last summer, the summer before, I was meeting up with some people, I think like John Newman and some of our boys, and it was like a Friday afternoon, and we were meeting there around 5:30, and I was coming from Syracuse, and Drop the car at my parents' house so I could Uber down and start getting into it. And when we got there was a group of people that were like our age and a little bit older that were just going crazy. It was like a Friday. I'm like, what is going on? And at one point, this guy who was with that group saw us and bought us a pitcher of beer. And we're like, what? So we go over there, we're like, what's going on? And there were teachers from the school, from the high school. And one of them wasn't retiring, had told them that they were going to retire next year. So they decided to go to the pub and they're just partying. Like this one girl took the napkins and she's like LeBron, like, woo! It's like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It was, but the pub is the place where you can do that. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
I can't wait to get back to that. Yeah, for sure.
We're going to get back to it. So,
yeah,
I have another question for you. And I don't know what rating this will come out to, but what's the funniest story delivering pizza that you're willing to share or you're legally able to? Because isn't there like a delivery guy and a patient, like, isn't there like lawyers and, like a
HIPAA?
Like a HIPAA violation or something.
Yeah. I think there's been many HIPAA violations then here. There's some, you get into some interesting circumstances. Especially on the weekends, the high volume orders, and our hours are a little more pulled in because of this whole thing. But when we get back to, when we're a little later at night, you see some colorful stuff delivering. And I've heard some really interesting stories from the guys over the years. But mine goes back probably had 20 years, probably right when I was out of college. And it was just over where our buddies, Sean Murphy and Courtney, I think they just sold their house, but they lived over on New Route 31.
Yep.
And I pulled up, and those houses are up high on a hill when you're driving down that road. I just delivered a pizza, no big deal. But I was I was probably right out of Lemoyne, 21 or 22. And these kids had this, as I was pulling in, I see them in the backyard, and they were like teenagers. They were probably like seniors in high school, not too much younger than me, but 4 or 5 years younger than me. So they were one kid was flying down in his sled. So they had made a bobsled track, and it was pretty steep. And it was I didn't realize it at the time because I'm just pulling in, just trying to deliver my pizza. And they're like, oh, back here. They start yelling, and I'm like, wow, that's, I caught the tail end of a kid going down. They're like, you want to try? And I'm like, let's do it. A total Madison moment. Where I'm like, all right, my dad's the owner. I'm working for him. I got a little leeway. I can take a run, but I didn't realize how crazy it was until I ripped my jeans. And I back then I had a jeans and a hoodie, cause I'm wearing now, but I'm outside cause we were invincible back then. So
for sure.
So I went off the track, racked myself for pretty good yard sale, into some shrubbery and branches and pretty roughed up, but I sucked it up. I heard all the applause, and they thought it was probably the coolest pizza delivery they ever got.
Oh yeah, they're telling that story to this day.
Yeah, so it was pretty wild. But yeah, there's been some other colorful stories and crazy stuff delivering pizzas. So
I kind of expected a story from when you were a younger guy delivering pizzas. It was weird. The door was open and it said, "Oh, please bring the pizza into the living room." And there's incense, and you hear Baron, you're like, whoa, I'm just here to deliver pizza.
Surprisingly, I don't know. I think college town, I think there's definitely crazier stories out here. Beeville's, people like to party and stuff, but that's usually, there's definitely been some stories along that line, but it's pretty tame.
I know someone that not me, this is not me, and it's not you, but someone that was walking home in a college town, and they walked by a pizza shop that the pizza guy had left, the pizza delivery person left the car running out front of the shop, had a couple of pizzas in there. They got in the car and drove it right to where they were going. Yeah. Which was stupid.
Did they figure out the deliveries, where they were going, or?
Oh yeah. This person got in deep trouble. They're an idiot. But I will say, and I'm not saying that people should do this when they go to the pub, but a move that I've used before, and I know that you have too, is I've ordered a pizza from a place that I'm at drinking. I order the pizza to be delivered, and then they deliver me home with the pizza. So sometimes you can kill two birds with one stone.
That's a pro move. Yeah, and if you find a driver and a shop nice enough to accommodate that can work out well in your favor.
For sure. I mean, most places should not do that because that probably violates some HIPAA violations too, Okay, so when you're talking about getting weird, right? So the last couple of questions kind of focus on that. So for me, I have some answers to this, but it changes all the time. So for you, dude, you're about to get hyped. Like we're going to a Bills tailgate, which we've done and partied pretty hard at, or you're going to Las Vegas and things are going to get real. Like what's a song that's going to get you hyped and you can get weird too?
Man, getting hyped, I don't know, like I know you and me both are big fans from the past of just like I mentioned earlier, like WWF, like entrance music. Like our boy Giambi back in the day when he was in his prime would come out to like My Name Is Mud by Primus or like something like that, or like just any type of like Metallica, Enter Sandman with Mo. I'm a big Yankees fan, so like something like that, just get hyped up.
Yeah, dude, Voodoo Child.
My music, I'm kind of, I know I have a pretty wide spectrum of music. I'll bounce around different music, and I just like things that get people fired up. I mean, I've seen it here. We Notorious B.I.G. like Hypnotized, like that comes on late around midnight at the pub anytime that you'll get the whole bar singing that.
People are jumping
or
up.
You go on the opposite end of the spectrum, and even like some Garth Brooks, you get some country people out here, and then but next thing you know, there's 40 people singing Friends in Low Places. La Bamba has a cult following here, partly because of our bartender who's in the process of becoming a local celebrity bartender, Danny Espinosa. He puts on quite a show if you play that for him, and that's kind of a thing. And then All I Want for Christmas by Mariah Carey. That's not like my favorite tradition here, but it is. I have to give it respect the people that do enjoy it, because it starts rolling like literally like this time of year. Like you'll hear it once, you'll be like, that's weird. Wasn't it just Christmas? And then you get in by May or June, and it's like playing like multiple times on the weekend, and like people are all singing it, and it's like what? And then it just hits a fever pitch. You get like past Halloween, and I don't know what it is about that song in this place, but people, I mean, it's almost like a sick joke, because it's not my favorite, but seeing people get into it, I'm down with anything like that.
Dude, me too. Like, I mean, a song I put on that list, like "Party in the USA" by Miley Cyrus, jam, certified jam.
I think Jeff across the street at Angry Garlic, Jeff Rogers, I think that's like his favorite song. Like he plays that here a lot.
It's a legit. I've played it there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had go-tos there, like Civil War by Guns N' Roses.
Oh, I forgot to mention GNR. Yeah, I should have mentioned them right up with Metallica. They were pretty.
Hit 'Em Up by Tupac. But one of the things, though, I think about, and I mean, maybe Danny, as he's expanding his celebrity status, this is something that actually I would personally download. If someone could make a Spotify list of all of the hype music that you hear in the pub, like I remember being in the pub and it's low key being like, okay, it's early, we're gonna like there's a band coming in later, but this is prior to COVID, we're gonna chill, and then like Tennessee Whiskey comes on and people are like going crazy. It was like, dude, it's 6:30, it's still sunny out. What's going on? Like a playlist of the Pizza Man Pub get hype music, dude. I would download that Spotify playlist in a second.
I like that. We might have to work on that. It might be a good project. I'm sure Danny would take that up. I like it.
And I bet a lot of the people that miss the pub, if you made a collaborative list, would throw some jams on there,
Yeah, I like it.
Might be cool. So let's talk about something else weird too. Tell us your favorite gas station food and why.
Oh, man, I feel like this is a loaded question. I know it always goes back to pizza, and I remember in our earlier days we destroyed a lot of bacon parlor pizza from A+, which I can't even believe I'm saying, because it is what it is a saying I also picked up from you. But we had some fun nights that ended up with some parlor pizza, so I'll give that a shot. I do breakfast pizza. There's some actually you can seek that out at gas stations where it's pretty good, and something we don't do because we're mostly open at night. Although Luke Delia did a sheet for Lemoyne. He actually does it really well. Luke makes killer breakfast pizza. So someday when we get hours open back up and we get more into a brunch type situation, we might have to make Luke do that because it's phenomenal. But that at a gas station, some gas stations, the one out in Phoenix, there's like ones here and there that you can find good breakfast pizza. But I think the answer you're looking for is the bomb, which
that is the answer I'm looking for.
Yes. I knew it.
Yes.
The biggest burrito you can get at the gas station. And every once in a while I'll see one and I'll just laugh because it brings me right back to that game that we went, that epic Bills-Jets game in 2006. What was the jersey you were wearing?
Oh, man.
Wasn't it like a lineman?
Yeah, I was wearing.
The quarterback matchup was like Lossman and JP Lossman and Chad Pennington. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah,
but we tore it up.
I was wearing like Kevin Mawe, like the Jets center at the time's jersey.
Yes.
And the parlor pizza, we've eat a lot of those drunk. Those were pretty good. And breakfast pizza, I agree. But yes, the answer was the bomb because that is the right answer. So
that was the correct answer for you.
That was a Will to Be Weird day. So tell, for the stories that we can share, because there's a few of those we probably can't. What were some of the highlights of that Will to Be Weird day? And for those that are watching this that made it this far, right? This was Jimmy, my dad, and Scott Cipher, and we're like, you know what? We're gonna go to a Bills game, have a couple drinks, and like, I don't know why we're like, it's just gonna be low key, and it was anything but low key. This was a ripping party. So Jimmy, tell me some of the highlights of that trip.
Oh man, I think back then we could string days together. So I think we were as I recall, I think we partied pretty hard on a Friday and Saturday night and got up at 9 in the morning to head out to a 1 o'clock Buffalo game. And it was very cold. I remember just going but the atmosphere was great, amazing. It was the first Bills game I ever went to. And then I went I've been 2 more times since, but that was my original Bills game back in 2006. And oh man, there's just so many stories. I remember in the pregame, your dad, who I have tons of respect for, Chris Reed, came prepared. The Boy Scout that he is, he had a pack of hunting socks or like wool socks. He's like, Jimmy, you need these. Because it was single digits. There was a cold day in Buffalo, but we managed. The socks helped a ton, and then we had a lot of bootleg Canadian beer we found.
Yeah,
it was. The episode of this episode could be referenced in that story somewhere.
Definitely.
The hot joints.
The Will to Be Weird in that, right? Like I was thinking about So, and Chris Reed is a strong Will to Be Weird, but like besides, we didn't bring any food, so we bought a gas station burrito that we hooked up on a crappy little propane grill, and then like we met like Canadian Ben Johnson deniers. They denied that ever happened.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was crazy. And I also think about too, at one point, like we were just randomly, we'd send one person out to go meet other tailgates and we'd go party with them. And I remember my dad coming back and me and you were like drinking beers at the back, sitting on the back of the car. We were watching like people dance on the roof of this other car. And my dad's like, you guys got to come and meet these guys we met. So we go over there and they're a bunch of Packers fans, like 4 of them. And he's like, tell Jimmy and my son what you just told me. Tell my friend Jimmy what you just told me. And the guy's like, oh, we said we wanted to go to every single NFL stadium, whatever.
Oh,
and
that's right.
You and I were like, oh, cool. And my dad's like, tell him the rest. So the guy goes, yeah, my wife told me that if I go to one more game, she's going to leave me. So he pauses and he goes, and I said, I always want to see Buffalo in December. So we're like, wow, dude, your wife's going to leave you because you went to a Jets-Bills game, and the Jets and Bills were not good at the time. That was awesome.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I forgot how awesome that was.
Dude.
And then we, anyone that's, watching this from the Buffalo area, we ended up at a fine establishment called Rick's Tally Ho. So there was that too.
We did. And they had a buffet, but I wouldn't rank their pizza as being very high quality. Okay, so that gives you a brief insight into the warped and amazing and loving mind of Jimmy Delia. But before we get into some conclusions, we got a lightning round, Jimmy. Are you ready for it?
Oh man, let's do it.
All right. So for y'all watching, Jimmy has had no preparation for these. We're going to give you an either or, and you have to tell us your answer and why.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. The first one: DiGiorno or Domino's?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say Domino's actually. At the point I would take that. I'm not gonna turn on the oven.
Very great point. And it's getting delivered to you, and they've done a little bit better than I guess they've done in the past.
Yeah, okay. I mean we drove them out of town once, and now they're back for more. So we'll see. See how the story ends.
So you have to hire a new delivery guy, and it's one of the following two choices: Matthew McConaughey's character from Dazed and Confused, or the dude from Big Lebowski, from the Big Lebowski.
Man, that's a really good question. I like that a lot. I would have to say McConaughey, man. Matthew, he would have it would be such a novelty. You'd get the whole high school ordering, and as long as they wash the leather, they're all good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And they all stay the same age. So he's got that market tapped.
That they keep that market going and don't change it. Okay. Drums or flats?
Oh, very good question. I've been asked this a lot. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. I lean a little bit towards flats, only because I just think if cooked nice and crispy, that the meat you get right in the middle of is awesome, and that's what I like. I also like the drumsticks when they're very if you get a crispy drumstick too, that end part of the drumstick's good. So tough question. I'll say flats for my either.
So when people order that, like how do you do you get irritated if someone orders straight flats or straight drums? Like how do you typically respond to those type of things?
No, it's kind of you got to pay to play here in that scenario. Like we go out of our way to take care of our customers, but sometimes they got to expect a little more for the effort. And that's kind of the situation, because it is tough, like, especially with the big orders, because it throws it out of balance. And for every, flat person, there's a drum person or vice versa. So
yeah, that's a great answer. And I think people should think about that, because I'm an equal opportunity wing destroyer. I will wipe out whatever it is there, but, because I don't have a problem with someone ordering something or changing something to an extent, right? As long as they're willing to pay extra, it's like, yeah, dude, like, we can do that if you want to throw down.
Yeah, definitely. It's my dad taught me that lesson a long time ago, and I try. And he's right. And sometimes I've reluctantly, but it's really, you really don't want to say no. You try to accommodate the person, and that's what we try to do here. And sometimes it involves an extra charge or fee, and if they're okay with it, we'll give it to them the way they want.
Okay, last one in the lightning round. If you are you're on a mission to go on a super wildebeest day, are you going to start with an ice cold beer or mixed drinks?
I gotta just go with a ice cold beer. Mixed drinks, it would just get too weird.
Too weird, too fast.
Yeah. I gotta gauge it a little bit, and especially these days.
Yeah, I got
not 20 years ago anymore. So
for sure. Okay, so Jimmy, before we conclude, is there anything that you want to share with the people? Talk about the shop. I know that you've done a great job because you're just so good at caring about other people, talking about all these other people. Tell us anything you want to share, man. Anything you can talk about.
Just generally just thank everyone. And obviously restaurants are, David Hoyne kind of touched on it. I think it's been like a little bit unfair what was going on with it, but by the same token, we're here to just we want to get through this and do everything we can too, and just be safe about it. But, everyone's itching to, go the other way with this after a whole year of doing it. It was surreal how it all went down last March. And to think we're approaching that again is kind of wild. But we just want to thank, we're in a good situation here. We got great loyal customers, and, we want to just say thanks to them, because even people during the beginning of the pandemic, everyone genuinely, how are you doing? How is it going? Buying $500 gift cards, crazy stuff. People were just coming in, blowing our minds, and I think it's just goes back to, we're a part of their lives, and, sometimes you don't even realize it when you're grinding day in and day out. And, you run into people, there's people I've met that are couples that have, that met here, they went on to get married, and like there's some really cool stories, heartwarming stories. So we need, you know, and in the meantime, we've been keeping busy. You know, the shop's been great. So we want to thank all our customers, you know, that we don't, you know, we deliver to their houses or takeout or whatever. But we're all looking forward, you know, to get back and, you know, just supporting each other, staying local, and just kind of what you guys represent at Spatchcock Funk. And I can't wait to get, you know, I want to meet up with you and Stephanie and get into the city and, you know, get back to some of that. Cause you know, I've been out here in Beeville and support Beeville and keeping, you know, supporting that, but there's so much we want to do. So.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, I can't wait for that either. And I can't wait to talk about doing some cooking together for Spatchcock Funk. But here's the thing. You guys, you know, you are part of a legendary family that's created a legendary establishment, and those people come in to buy gift cards because of what you mean to that community and how well you treat them. So on behalf of someone that has spent a lot of time getting weird in Pizza Man Pub and with the Delia family and the Delia extended family, we are grateful for you and grateful for being on the show, dude. Like, on behalf of the great Pizza Man Pub and the Delia family and Spatchcock Nation, thanks, y'all.
Thank you.